All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am with my nephew Hudson. Oh man, it's been 5 years, and words can't express the interactions I've had with Hudson in regards to after class convos or just seeing each other as we're walking on the paths and greeting each other. And I remember too, you being excited on your final paper, and you give me a copy, and I was like, "This is fire," and you being so proud of it. Um, who you are in regards to your character and your integrity, and how you bless other people, the joy, as the kids nowadays say, you bring good vibes into a classroom. I'll never forget it, and I wanted to bring you on because I want your light to shine. I don't, as much as I want to be greedy and hold you to myself, because I know right before we recorded, bro, I was like, you're just dropping jewels. Um, I was like, okay, we need to start this because the world needs this light. And so, Hudson, thank you so much for joining us. Um, I, one of the prerequisites for coming to this program is wearing a favorite sweater, sweatshirt, or t-shirt. What do you have on for us?
Okay, this does not have like a deeper meaning at all, but
No,
I have a sweatshirt with a dog on it, and it's like a heavy sweatshirt. I like heavy sweatshirts.
there you go.
That's like, it's
Yeah.
the only piece of clothing I have that I know a little bit about the history of like the brand.
Hmm.
I know that the brand um was an old like Tahoe store and it shut down. It's no longer in business. So I can't get any sweatshirts from them anymore, but
Wow.
that's it.
So right now, Hudson, what would you say you're passionate about? And name as many passions as possible.
Mm, Probably um just like soaking up everything like knowledge, just learn. I think probably just because I'm in college, like I just feel like I've learned more in the past year and a half than I have like ever. Um Honesty is something that
Mm,
like, or transparency, just like saying how you feel is something that I've like I want to receive and give to people. Um, what else? Um, oh, time doing nothing, I think is really important. Just like sitting and um, yeah, I think that pretty much sums up. Oh, music, always music. That's pretty much it for right now. Yeah.
Um, how'd you get to the point of just being in love with learning?
Um, I actually used to not love learning that. Well, when I was a kid, I used to like I always loved learning.
Mm,
I don't know why. I just like I think there's something just human about learning like that. I think that's why kids always ask so many questions and people get annoyed, but I love when kids ask questions. Although when I have my own kids, I'll probably get annoyed when they ask me, the 40th question or whatever. But I think that there's like I think that everyone is born to ask questions and
mm.
learning, and you never stop learning. So I don't think I ever reached a point per se of where I loved learning, but I definitely love learning more now at this point in my life than I did in like uh I was probably any time before. I
Mm.
think because there's less restrictions on what I can't, there's kind of no
Yeah.
limitations on what I can learn. There's no censoring anything. There's no like oh, this isn't appropriate for you or appropriate for me to say. Like I might like, you know, be in trouble like with my employer if I say this or
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
there's no censoring. So I think that I guess that goes back to honesty too. Like I think that that's exciting. That's why I'm most excited to learn now. Yeah.
So you are at USC right now. What's your major?
So I am trying to double major. I don't know if it's
Okay.
going to work out because
Hmm.
I want to study abroad. So I'm yeah. But I have right now I'm a law, history, and culture major. That's one major. And then I'm also trying to double major in real estate finance. And if not, then I can do a minor for that.
What got you into law history and culture?
Um, well, I know I wanted to do pre-law when I was applying to college.
Hmm.
And I applied as either political science or sociology to every other school I
Hmm.
applied to. And then I was looking through USC's catalog, and it was the only school I saw that I applied to that had like they had like philosophy, politics, and law as a major, philosophy, politics, and economics, law, history, and
Hmm.
culture. They have these majors that are like a bunch of things combined. Um, and I don't know, that was just very attractive to me because I have so many like major requirements to choose from. I have,
Mm, yeah.
obviously law, history, and then I can do political science, anthropology, literature, religion, all types of stuff. It's very like it's pretty free in terms of what I can take. Yeah.
What'd you say is a pivotal moment that shaped you to who you are in regards to why you value transparency and honesty?
Well, I guess it's not I can't recall one
Mm,
moment,
yeah.
but I can say that I think why I'm so interested, like passionate about communication and arguing, as you know, from when I was in your class, and honesty is because at one point, like when I was younger, I didn't, there was actually a point in my life where around like 5 to 6 for like about a year where I pretty much just like stopped talking. I didn't
Wow.
completely stop talking, but um I I just I got very quiet. Let's just say that. And I remember it really well still. And I always had communication issues when I was a younger kid, and I think a lot of that was because of my relationship with my parents, or like my dad more specifically.
Yeah.
And we grew through that together. We both grew a lot, have grown a lot
Mm,
since then. But I think I have like a greater appreciation for the ability to be honest and like say honest things out loud, because there was a point in time where I really couldn't do that at all.
okay.
Uh, and also it puts me out of my comfort zone, and I like the adrenaline rush. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah.
you like in the classroom. I'm having a flashback. Maybe you just trigger me. You like triggering the adrenaline in other people too.
Yeah. I like messing with other people. Yeah.
But it's not out of insincerity. You actually are genuinely asking those questions.
Yeah. I don't even remember you probably remember way more of what I said and did in your class than I
Now I
do.
was like, oh, we're gonna do this. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it helped because um, some people maybe they're thinking the same things, but they're not gonna say anything. or some people are so much into comfort, like, and they're going to stay in their preconceived notions. And I
Mm,
think that led that that bleeding led to an opening of hearts, because I people were probably hearing stuff in our conversations or stuff that was coming out of my mouth, or even your mouth, in terms of agreement, or just they got to see active listening happening. It was a convo. It wasn't like a shouting match. um, and there was laughter in the end. It was all laughter, right? So I think it did a
well,
lot of
and
good.
and sometimes, I remember sometimes you definitely put me in my place. Like, okay, like, like chill out, like lock in, like we're still in class, like that's important too,
Yeah. Oh man. I I don't remember much. Oh, I think one topic I did remember was just looking at like politics, and we're not going to get into politics, but just saying like just how people of their own party will do each other wrong,
Mm,
you know.
yeah,
And I was like, and it's heartbreaking. And we would think, oh, one side just represents this value, but no, you'd be surprised how people sabotage their own community, and you have to be
yeah.
careful of that. Um, Now, actually, this is a perfect transition. Um, how do you how do you solve problems, especially when they're new for you, and if it's like multifaceted, how do you determine what is true? It could be in a world of ideas, it could be in a world of like science, especially when you're coming into new coursework and they're presenting you like um, new material, or a new event. You're like, I never thought of it like that. And to be like your own best worst naysayer, right? Instead of just going along with the professor. So how do you determine truth in a world filled with problems?
Wait, okay, actually I'm confused about the question now because like there's like two different questions
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, yeah. There are two different questions. However you want to impact them.
Okay. Um, well, I guess I have two very different ideas of like problems in like trying to understand something
Hmm.
in school that's hard to wrap my mind around. Um, for that, I don't something over COVID clicked for me, and I don't
Mm,
know how or what it was, but a lot of people were like, "Oh, I lost so much over online school,
mhm.
like I didn't learn anything, blah blah, blah. I just tuned it all out." I don't know what happened to me. I just like somehow like locked in and figured out how to do school for the first time. Like, I mean, I was never a bad student
Yeah,
before,
yeah, yeah,
but I got like, and I know not everything is about grades, but I got like perfect grades from then on. And I don't know how or why online school was that changed for me. Maybe that was just it just happened COVID just happened to occur right when I was on the brink of like
just
really
breaking
like
out. Yeah.
well, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I think since COVID, like I've just been like whenever I have a problem in school, I'm like just do it. Like
Mhm.
that's it. Like literally just do it. Like there's no like you just find a way. I just find a way. I don't even think about it. I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna get this done. Like I don't care how much like coffee I have to drink or whatever, like how many stimulants are flowing through my veins. Like I'm just gonna like, you know, figure out how to do it. With like problems in life that are new.
Mm,
I think that's a lot different for me. I guess how do I solve new problems in life? Well, I think first I always try to find a parallel, like I'm like a judge in a way. I'm like looking for some precedent, even though it might not seem like super related. I'm trying to like grasp onto like even though something's new, it can't be like really completely new. Like there
mm,
has to be some type of similarity somewhere. Um, And I try to always ask myself how I act in other similar circumstances, or if the roles were reversed in a situation and, I was on the opposite side of a
Mm.
situation. Kind of poor wording, but
No.
anyway, um, that's the first thing. The second thing would probably be calling my mom. Even if she doesn't have good advice to offer me,
Yeah.
usually does. But even if she doesn't have good advice to offer me, I'll call her and I'll tell her my problem, and then I'll tell her all the options that I think I have to solve it. And I can tell just by the way she reacts, even if it's not even with words, even if it's like, oh,
Mm.
mm, I can tell which one she thinks is the best option. Um, so yeah, I think those are my two main things. Yeah.
What do you think the future holds for you in regards to law?
Mm. I actually don't want to be a lawyer long
Okay.
term.
Okay.
Um, at first I did. And I realized that I don't want to, you know,
Hmm.
like just work and work and work my whole life. Um, but I do want to go into business or
Mm.
real estate, with a legal background. I want a law degree. Like I'm going to
Yeah, yeah.
law school for sure. Well, I mean, I can't say for sure. Who knows? Something might happen in the next 2 years. But I definitely do want to go to law
Yeah.
school. But I don't want to do litigation. Like I love writing. I never come up with my best ideas on my feet. I always
Yeah.
come up with best ideas when I'm sitting down and writing. So yeah. I feel like law is important no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How have you, I don't like using the word failure, setbacks or stumbling blocks. How have you handled situations where things weren't going so well?
Hmm. Um, you know, I'm trying to think of like low points in my life and like how I've handled them. I think what I already briefly mentioned a few minutes ago about that kind of like 5 to 6 year old period, that was like my first low point that I really remember.
Yeah.
Um, but I was so young that I didn't really know how to handle it.
Yeah.
I don't think you really can handle it when you're that young. But I guess another low point in my life would, well, I don't, it was a low point, but it was also a high point. It
Mm.
had like some reward for me because I learned a lot about myself, and I feel like everyone my age did, which was COVID.
Yeah.
Um, and that just I think my low point was tied to everyone else's low point in
Yeah.
my household, and that was tricky because I couldn't just solve I couldn't just solve something for myself. It was kind of dependent on
Mhm.
people's low points. Um, and yeah, well, I don't know, how honest can I be on this podcast? Is this like
As honest as you want,
okay,
whatever
like
you want to share.
to be honest, like, and I wouldn't, I don't think I would do this again, but honestly, like
Mm.
I just smoked a lot of weed and like called it
Yeah.
a day. Like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
like what else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't I think for COVID, like it was just kind of like waiting.
Mm.
It's it was just like yeah, it was just waiting. And but I'm glad that it happened
Yeah.
because I'm a completely different person now
Yeah.
than I was before. Like you know, you really knew me before COVID, and then like I like mellowed out way more. Like, I'm like way, yeah. But yeah. I don't know if that really answered your question, but
No, that answers that. Um, so what advice would you give to someone going into your major? Um, and
Mm,
actually, even with your major, sorry, I'm asking like two-part questions. Even into your major, could you share with us the delight of that honors program that you were talking about, or that honors course? That is fire.
yeah, yeah. Okay, my first part about well, actually that's I'm glad that you asked it like that because these kind of go hand in hand.
Mm.
So, the one piece of advice I would have is learn how to write. Like, even if you don't know what you're talking about, if you write it well, like if you have good diction and like it just sounds good, your professor is going to give you a good grade. I mean,
Yeah.
to like to a certain
Hmm.
extent,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
like it's so much, so I feel like half of it is style and the other half is evidence. Like you can know everything and not know how to build on it or regurgitate it at all, and like you won't get anywhere.
Yeah.
Uh, that's the first part. The second part
Preach.
of the honors program is it's not like, well, I'll say it again now that we're recording, but it's not like an honors program in the sense that you just do more work and like whatever.
Yeah.
It's it's more like so I don't take any gen eds in college. Between AP test scores and this
Wow.
program, I don't take any gen eds. And instead I basically take these classes that are capped at 11 people, and you know the professor, they know you by name, and it's all like really just fantastic professors. They submit the classes to a board to compete every year to see like what the best class ideas are, and then the winners of the competition become the classes for the next semester. And you just do the first, everyone's required to take three specific classes. And when you first start college, first one is called Core 111, and it's a writing workshop. I mean, most colleges have like some writing requirement.
Hmm.
Um, for TO you or thematic option, you have core 111 and core 112. You have two writing requirements, and they're really intensive workshops. You are just, and they're taught by PhD candidates, which I think is really important because they're PhD candidates in literature or English or something related.
Yeah.
And they're learning with you, and they're so much more down to earth, and they can really help you. Like they're writing their dissertation and everything. And at the same time, they're helping you write like that. They're like in that mindset. And I think whoever's idea it was, I think it's genius. So I really learned how to write through that. And the best part is every paper you write in those classes,
Mm.
you are required to meet with your professor one-on-one for an hour after to discuss it. So you get like an hour of feedback individually. And I like learned so much in my first year and a half from that. Yeah. And it's, yeah, it's been very rewarding. It's honestly not more work that, I mean, it is more work at first than if I didn't do it, but I've like learned exponentially more, and I've gotten a lot of, like I had my final a month ago at the Getty Villa in the like ancient Egypt's like Book of the Dead exhibit, like, and I had to like translate hieroglyphics and like talk to my class for the final, like instead of some like dusty classroom basement or like, whatever. Like it's a really cool program. Yeah.
I mean, it's so intimate, so you can't help but
Yeah.
be engaged.
Yeah, and the professor knows if you aren't, because you're right there. Like it's smaller than high school classes. And it, like for some people that's like I'm talking to some of my friends at smaller
Hmm.
private universities, and they're like, "Oh yeah, like 11 kids, all right." But at USC, it's like
Yeah.
20 something thousand kids. Like
Yeah.
most gen eds have 200 plus kids. Like, and if you go to a UC, it's even it's like
Yeah.
900. It's
Hey,
like crazy.
tell us about the copy of The Origin of Species.
Oh, yo, okay, yeah. So I 2 days ago, I'm taking a thematic option class now. That's it's called it's our like science requirement for thematic option, and it's called the process of change in science told through its greatest books.
Oh,
And
sorry, you almost made me curse. I haven't cursed since I was 18.
but yeah, it's taught by a marine biology professor, but it's still very like paper focused. It's not like you're not just regurgitating and memorizing whatever. And our class is held in the rare books section of the library. And it's this vaulted room, and we walk in, and actually I didn't tell you this before we started recording,
Mhm.
but they have like maybe like 20 books lined up for us. I mean, they have all these books on like locked cases around us, but
Stop
they
building
have
the suspense. No, keep going.
they have
Yo.
like 20 books lined out for us on this table, and they're like, yeah, like go look at them, blah blah blah. We get to choose the books that our course is built around, basically, and we're like looking at these books, and I pick up this book. I'm like, oh, on the origin of species, like whatever, yeah, I know this book, like, and that's I'm not like into science, so like for me to know the title of a book, like a science book, is like means it's like really, everyone knows on the origins of species, Darwin, right? And the curator, he sits in on all of our classes because he has to watch, like he's the one that buys all these books. He has to make sure that we're not like, destroying them or whatever. Um, and he's like, "Do you know you're holding $10 million in your hands right now?" I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's the first printed copy of Darwin. We just bought it like a few years ago at auction. Like this is the first printed copy of On the Origin of Species. It's like," and he t was talking about like the publishing house in London, like yeah. So that was cool. And also, like, we're reading stuff like Galileo's books that have handwritten annotations in them from the 1400s. I'm like reading people's annotations, like and yeah, yeah, it's very cool. Yeah.
You're killing me. All right. So if you want to go USC, that's what you're gonna get. Sorry.
Yeah.
This we're not trying to ding. All right. We need a transition because I started drooling, man.
Yeah.
How are you balancing, especially after during your first year, actually? How did you balance studies and personal life?
Um, okay, well, I feel like first semester of last year was very well balanced.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of an adjustment for me. I was working a lot more than high school. Um, but yeah, it was really well balanced. I chose a fantastic dorm.
Mhm.
I'm in an apartment now. Most people um go to an apartment. There's actually, yeah, everyone goes to an apartment their second year. There are no second year dorms here.
Okay.
Uh, and I live with six guys, and all of them are from my floor last year. And our floor was like a really like I got very lucky because there were some floors that were like just dead, and our or like we just weird like, and our floor was like 40 kids. Everyone knew each other really well. We are
That's
all
cool.
really close. Yeah, I lucked out by far, just in general, but especially with that. And then second semester, I rushed and I pledged for a semester. That was an experience. That was like that was the stupidest thing I did and the best thing I did in my life. And yeah, I didn't have time for myself during
Mm.
that, but I still had a balance in the sense that I was like doing like just crazy stuff and school
Y-
at the same time, and it was a good balance. And I had my grades, like I
Okay.
kept well. I just purposely chose his schedule. Like I manipulated my schedule. I actually
Yeah.
moved one of my classes to do a Maymester, and I went abroad for like 3 weeks at the end of this semester. So I
Okay.
had this class time during the actual semester. Um, but this year has been a challenge for me, and I don't know what it is. I think part of it is like cooking for myself. I don't have a dining hall, and
Oh,
you know, I live like I have to walk to class for like 30 minutes instead of 5 minutes and
yeah.
whatever. But yeah, I'm like adulting now.
Yeah.
So it's been harder to find a balance. I wish I had more balance
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're at least in community. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
besides Darwin's Origin Species, what's a book that has significantly influenced you?
Um, Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf
Mm.
is like the best book I've read in college so far, I think.
Wow.
I don't even fully know why. I yeah, I don't know. It's very like have you read it before?
I have not read it.
Well, it's weird because it takes place over the time period of the book is um it takes place over a day and like 60 years at the same time.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, and it's all stream of consciousness. You don't know in the end, and we get to the end of the book, and I think this is the reason why it was really my favorite book is I finished the book, and this is I read this book in my craziest professor's class. Like she was crazy, like fully accused me of cheating and try to get me kicked out of this honors program that I was just talking about, and CC'd her boss, and like we had all these back and forth emails. She ended up like apologizing, and she was like, in the spirit of Yom Kippur, I apologize. And then it was like, I hope to be friends with you. Like, sometimes misunderstandings can start a new friendship. And she told me about how she got stood up on a date from a guy. Like, she drove from Stanford to Berkeley and got stood up and blah, 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 blah. And like her boss is on this email chain CC'd the whole time. It was, but anyway, she's my favorite professor.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
like I learned so much from her. She's crazy. She's insane. I ended up getting an A in the class, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it was, I yeah, yeah.
What was it? Sorry. What was it that triggered
Um,
the cheating accusation? Were you too
it was
articulate?
no, it was really stupid actually. Our homework every night was we had to read like so much. We read the Odyssey in 5 days. Like we just like zoomed through books. And our homework assignment was that every night, just read like this fat chunk of a book, and then we just like make comments along the way and
Mhm.
email. There's no outline to the comments, just email her the comments. And I oh one of my roommates. I emailed her something about like we were reading Antigone, and
Mhm.
I emailed her something about like weaving and in my comments.
Yeah.
And I was out of town and I didn't have the paper, like the hardcover version. I was in Kentucky for like some family like
Yeah. Yeah.
thing. And so I like downloaded like a PDF online,
Hmm.
and I was like, this should do like it'll do for now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't realize that there's a French play called Antigone as well with
Uh-huh.
all the same characters. They have all the same names and everything. And I've never read Antigone. So I'm reading this and I'm
Yeah.
like doing all the comments. And she's like, looks like you just use Spark Notes to do the wrong book, like blah blah blah. And like that was the accusation.
Oh.
And the upsetting part was she didn't come talk to me first and ask me in class.
Oh. Yeah.
She emailed her boss.
Oh.
She sent me this paragraphs long email and CC'd her boss on,
Oh. I'm sorry.
which
Yeah.
was her bad. And he came to me personally and he apologized to me. And I was like, no, we're good. And he's like, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. Like, Please let me know if you have any trouble with her. Um, Apparently they have a interesting relationship. She's a difficult colleague, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, yeah.
But I still loved her
Yeah,
class.
yeah, yeah. She's
I
probably,
didn't
yeah.
like I mean, I was like, I snapped back and respectfully,
Yeah, yeah,
obviously.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't like snap back, but I sent her like an equally long email.
Yeah,
Um, and after that, we were good. I think honestly, if anything, I think that like brought us closer
yeah,
together.
yeah,
Like, um, I don't know. I didn't hold anything against her.
yeah,
He didn't hold anything against me. I think if anything, like we like grew some respect for each other out of it.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It was a good learning lesson. For I don't say for you, just understand like, especially certain academics.
yeah,
It, I assume she's a PhD. Um,
yeah. She's tenured too.
yeah,
She's
yeah,
like
yeah.
70. Yeah,
So
yeah.
she's brilliant but hyper focused, right? When you meet,
Yeah, she's and
yeah,
that was the beauty of her classes. We would
yeah,
spend an hour on one word.
yeah. So
Yeah.
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 Uh, how do you define success?
Hmm.
How do you like regards to a project or a paper? How do you learn to let go? When is enough enough?
Hmm. Um, okay, in terms of a project or a paper, I would say I don't think success has a specific number, but I think you should always shoot for 100. Like, why not? Or shoot for 101 or two, whatever, even though you're probably not gonna get it,
Mm,
you should still shoot for it and try to get like and there's a part of me that like even though I get like even if I got a 99 on a paper, I would still wonder, and I got only positive feedback, I would still wonder like why did I get that extra point taken off? Like there's a part of me that always wonders that.
yeah.
But I don't know. I think success for me personally in a paper is if I walk away from it like feeling like I've taken away something for myself, even if
Mm,
I haven't given something to another human who is called a professor that they like, even if I failed to do that, I still feel like success to me is taking away something that I like. And that professor that I was just talking about, um, I wrote one paper that I wrote one paper at the beginning there. I was like, oh, like this is gonna be an A for sure. And she was like, she didn't give us like specific grades ever until the after our final. We
mm,
did never got a single grade back. So it was kind of like
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But she did tell me this one paper I turned in, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get an A for sure, blah blah. And then I wrote another paper later, and I'm like, oh, I really like, I don't know, like blah blah.
Mm,
And the paper that I thought like I did really great on, she was like, this is okay. This is
yeah.
nothing. She and we had the hour one-on-one meeting. She's like, this is a paper, but like I don't know, you didn't wow me at all. Like you should do better. Like I'm not
Mm,
impressed.
wow.
And later I wrote this paper and I was like, well, I don't know if it's good, but I hope it is. And she was like, I love this paper, like blah blah blah. And sometimes you just don't align like
Yeah.
what you think is really great for you, someone else doesn't read in the same way. It's like the same quadrant thing you were talking about
Yeah.
earlier. So yeah, I think success can be very personal.
Mm,
In life in general, I don't think success specifically exists. I
mm,
don't know. I don't think, I mean, like, I feel we definitely tend to measure success in terms of money or maybe like a position of power, but I don't think, I think there's probably been like a lot of great philosophers that thought crazy things to themselves that never got the publicity that like, I don't know, Kant did or Kafka or whatever. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
so I think, yeah, I don't know if success specifically exists like in the way that we usually think of it.
I like
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
like that a lot. I have to ask this. It's for the youngins. Um, what is AI or ChatGPT? How is that playing a role in your academics, or what do you hear of it on campus?
Okay. I personally am totally in favor of it.
Hmm.
Completely in favor of it. I think similar things could have been said about like, before you had to go pull books from a library shelf before you could surf the internet for academic
Stop
articles.
dating me, man.
No, and it's
Yeah,
true, like,
yeah,
the same thing could be said about the internet. Oh, it's way too accessible. You can just copy and paste whatever,
yeah.
whatever. Um, I was late to the ChatGPT game, but now I use, and I am totally unashamed to say I use it on every single paper I write.
Mm.
Not to write the paper for me,
Hmm.
but anytime I need like I take no shame in like one thing the thing I use it the most for is if there's one word in a sentence that I really just like can't think of it, I want to replace it with something, but I can't, like a context specific synonym.
Mm.
Copy
Wow.
and paste it in ChatGPT and I'll be like, change this word to like something else. And to me, that's just a different way of looking it up in a thesaurus. Yeah. As long as you're not using it to write it for you. I also think it makes a comment about the professor if they can't frickin' tell when a whole essay is written by ChatGPT. I'm like, okay, maybe in the future it'll get to the point of like whatever, but like, human beings write with like varied sentence lengths and not like this, these really strange words. Like, I don't know. I think that I honestly think ChatGPT makes a comment just as much about the professor as it does about the student.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and I'm not scared of it at all. I think it's like right now, I think it's a useful
Yeah.
tool. Yeah, I don't, yeah.
Hey, audience, I'm gonna put a disclaimer. Hudson exhibits high executive function. He knows what to tell ChatGPT, right? You heard it specifically here, what he was looking for. In that manner, ChatGPT is a tool. Okay. But if you're just looking like for asking for AI to write your complete, um,
Yeah.
you're in trouble.
But
Just
that's like so that's just like out of the question for me because like that doesn't even like I mean it shouldn't be out of the question because I know people in college who have written it like
mhm, mhm.
and gotten away with it. But I'm like, I don't understand how because when I read it, I can tell like this is not written by a human being. And it's you know, like I don't know. I don't think that you should just copy and paste your essay prompt into it and hope for the best. It's not even possible. Like you have to use specific sources a lot of the time or like books that you're using in class and ChatGPT can't pull quotes like that and
But
y-
I've had people come up to me and say, "How could you tell?" And I'm like, "You're serious?" Yeah.
yeah.
So, how are you staying motivated and focused?
Mm. Um Honestly, I think the idea of law school keeps me in check a lot.
Mm,
I think like and that's a good thing and a bad thing. Because I think I could be learning just as much and while at the same time getting worse grades than I am right now.
yeah,
Like there
yeah,
are extra like things that I do not learn a thing from that I'll do to like whatever, kiss a professor's ass
yeah,
or do an extra whatever. Like um but I think the idea of law school and like GPA mattering so much for law school
yeah,
really keeps me locked in.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and I'm glad I am like GPA focused. I feel like it's important. It's not
Mm,
my whole life, but I don't know. I have a GPA that I'm very happy with right
yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not something you put on a pedestal, but you know it's a benchmark that is part of your reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's a misconception people had about you in high school?
Hmm. You know, I think part of being like um having like I definitely a part of me is like really sarcastic and like silly when
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think um when you only show that part of yourself to someone, they think that you're not like you don't think you know
Yeah, yeah.
you're not like you can't be a serious person.
Yeah.
um and I feel like I've always been like a serious person. I was like a very well, I was always a very silly and serious kid.
No,
Uh
yeah.
like it's a switch that goes on and off. So yeah, I think probably that. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, I was talking to students earlier because we had something happen and you know, we're talking about impression management, how people see us. And at the same time, especially if or especially if why can't people actually see the real us? And you know, there's just so much that we put out there. We wear masks, we wear personas in different situations. Um, but if you think critically, and I think that's where we're in tune, um, because I was a class clown. I was a menace in high school, and but there's something to be said, and even in our classes, I want it to be fun, and so yeah, there's humor, there's comedy, there's ridiculousness because um, I know the pain of the stress, I know the pain of possible boredom, and this is life. Time is a non-renewable resource. We might as well have fun while we're here. But
Yeah.
then that constant show, I think that's where I think you figured out there's the persona I had in class, but then in office hours or when we see each other walking, you know, out in the quad or in the hallways, oh, um, he's a soul.
Hmm.
But some people don't think that critically and they don't think that deep.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And I always like I like that you said that like a person has a soul or like he has a soul. Because I don't know, I feel like I always whenever I'm displeased with myself for being
Mm,
like when you just get the ick from someone, like
yeah.
you're just like for no reason. They
Yeah.
don't even you like they're just sitting there. You just
Yeah.
get the ick from them being there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, like whenever like sometimes I'll get the ick in my head for no reason, and then I think I'm like, you know, like this person has a soul, or
Yeah.
this person is like this person is
Hmm.
probably here for a reason just as much as I am. And like even if I get icked out by them, like I
Hmm.
I I don't know, like they're important.
Yeah.
Even if it's not like direct to me, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no. I say, you know, if there are people that you love, love them intensely. Um, and if they're your enemies or strangers, just don't curse them. Just don't do any wrong. Do wrong to no one.
Yeah.
Um, when on the way to school, you see a lot of displaced persons, and so and some are um going through things, screaming, and my heart breaks for them
Yeah.
because you know, when you meet certain displaced persons, I mean, there's a spectrum. Some people were actually very successful, lawyers, um, teachers, maybe, you know, the stuff that I've seen, maybe there's a bad drug deal. Maybe they got some weed, but it wasn't weed, it was laced.
Yeah.
Um, and they're just in a different place now.
Yeah.
Um, I actually had an interaction last week and I was looking for these prepackaged salads and I saw the ones on top. Oh, they're all expired. And I looked disappointed. And the thing was, it was this lady um, of a certain ethnic background. I'm not going to mention what. Um, and she helped me. She was like, "Hey, you probably want to look behind, right, that box, and there's going to be more." Oh, I was like, "Thank you." I turned around and said, "Thank you," and she couldn't make eye contact with me
Hmm.
because it looked like she was so afraid. But I was grateful. It's like she knew I needed help, but the way she kept her distance and bilingual, and I was like, thank you so much." I actually said, you made my night. Thank you. I appreciate it. Because I probably wouldn't have had dinner without this. And she just couldn't make eye contact. And again, you don't know uh, what her family has taught her, right? The language she's surrounds herself with in her home, who she's interacting with, just that matrix.
Yeah.
You just don't know. And it's not us to teach them, you know. I believe somewhere along the line, when the timing is right, the universe, the Holy Spirit, the conscious will be moved, and you hope for the best. Right? Why would you hope? Why would you wish ill upon someone? You know. But yeah, I mean, even when people have misconceptions about me or anyone else, I just like, you know what? That's more revealing about them. James Baldwin said it best. He's like, um, when you use the N word, when you call me the N word, I'm not that. You are that.
Yeah.
You know, you are the monster, baby, not me. You know, so um, you mentioned this a little bit before, but I think that was more like controversial. It wasn't really criticism, and that was a mishap and a misunderstanding. How do you handle criticism or disagreement?
Hmm. Um, I actually wish, uh, yeah, I sometimes I wish people were a little more critical of me. Like, and I'm not saying because I'm so perfect I don't get criticism. I think people are scared to give criticism, and I don't think it's such a big deal. Like, for me, like, I wish, and I don't mean just like, random useless criticism. Like,
Yeah,
like constructive stuff. Like, I think that it's actually a really good thing to tell someone, like, tell your friend, like I would want my good friend.
yeah,
I think this is what makes a great friend.
yeah.
Um, my friend, you don't know her, but I
Mm,
would mention her earlier, Kate, who goes
mm,
Valley or went to Valley. Like we're just so like people call us like an old married couple. Like we don't like there's no tension ever, like ever when there's a problem. We just say it how it is, and
yeah,
it's never a scream, never gotten in a screaming fight with her. And it's not like we don't have like things we get annoyed with each other with. We
yeah, yeah.
absolutely do. But we just say it and we just like listen and like it's great. It's good. Like like we've both grown as people
Mm.
from criticizing each other. And wait, what was the other thing? How do you respond to criticism and what?
Or disagreement.
Oh, disagreement. I don't even think disagreement warrants a response sometimes. Like every, everyone thinks differently. Like
Yeah,
no two people think the same about everything, and you know, you can say what you think
yeah,
and what the other person can say the opposite thing, but
yeah. No, I actually going back to what you said, like I get really scared if first and foremost I'm the smartest person in the room because
mm,
I always want to grow.
mm,
Uh, and I think you ought to, you talk about honesty and transparency. You don't want to be. It's kind of sus when you're surrounded by people that keep telling you yes.
yeah,
Um, but at the same time, I'm going to judo flip this, Hudson, because I don't think you give yourself enough credit as much as you ask questions, right? Um, you are open-minded. Even though you have your values, you're open-minded. And uh if the facts line up, you agree. Like, and you look at a new
Yeah.
angle. So actually we'll talk about politics. It was like what we brought up about Bernie Sanders. I don't know if you remember. And we're talking about like Hillary Clinton sabotaged him. And like a couple years prior, I was teaching at Phil College, and I'm like, Bernie Sanders is I mean, I said, imagine if they actually ran together, on that ticket. We wouldn't have had Trump. But the thing, what Hillary did, and it made sense because when I was teaching at Foothill College, Bernie Sanders was in the Bay Area.
Mm.
But for some reason, there's no media coverage. There's only media coverage of Hillary, but she
Yeah.
wasn't even in the Bay Area. It makes no sense. And then we come out finding out later on that um, Bernie was undercut.
Yeah. And I get okay, I have very, very few things in defense of Donald Trump to say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I'll say on the flip side of that, um, after January 6th, when Trump got kicked off of Twitter,
Mm,
I was like, you know what? Like, I don't agree. I do not
yeah.
agree. All the media coverage was like, he incited an insurrection. This is how it should be. He should be like, he should not have a platform, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there and I think and I heard I can't take credit for this because
Yeah.
I heard other people, I don't remember who, but I heard other people say this and they're
Mm.
like, ISIS has a Twitter account, an official Twitter. And I think it's a valid criticism. Like,
Yo,
I think
yo,
completely
yo.
valid. Like, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm not making a comment about like, I personally think he well to like avoid any legal
Yeah,
language.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He inspired in one way or another an insurrection, or
Yeah.
at the very least, if he didn't inspire it, he didn't call it off.
Yeah,
Okay.
there we go. Yeah.
So let's just say that. Like I don't have anything in defense of that to say.
Yeah.
I don't
That's a
agree.
great point, but that's a great point what you just made. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
But I didn't agree with like Twitter's move to take him off after that. I'm like, that is a horrible precedent.
So
Yeah.
again, we talked about the court of, it's not even a real court of public opinion. It's the court of what we think is going to make us money or hurt our money. I mean, if
Yeah.
I don't know if you follow like the Jonathan Majors situation.
Mm-mm.
So we'll talk about, we'll talk about actual topics next time,
Okay. Okay.
but you might want to check that out. All right. But moving forward, what's something that really excites you right now besides law school? If I don't know, does law school excite you? Like, what is
Yeah,
something?
I kind of law school makes me excited and at the same time I dread it. So it's a mix of both. But what makes me excited right now? Um Probably I am at a point in my life where I haven't like I feel like I'm still in the beginning in a way.
Mm, love
Like
that.
that just like I know like when I'm like, wrinkly and 80, I'm probably gonna be like less excited. Like, I won't have that same excitement. Which is natural. I mean, I think that's totally natural, but I won't be able to say when I'm 80, I'm just getting started.
Yeah, yeah.
But by then I'll probably be tired of life, so it'll be a good thing that I've mellowed out or whatever. But no, but I feel like
Yeah.
now it's like a really good like I'm excited that I'm in this moment that
Mm,
where I'm like I just start to get a little freedom, but I'm not
yeah.
fully adulting. I still have all the support of my parents and I don't I'm not working to pay the bills. Like
Mm,
I'm
yeah.
going to school for my own self, and like that is just like a great time of life. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love hearing that. It's like certain people, I mean, I think that you're hitting a good stride.
Mm.
And where you're going into courses not feeling anxious about like how am I gonna achieve? No, no, you're like, what am I gonna learn?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Here are my roommates.
barely, it's all good.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So then how do you approach learning something new, especially when you have no inkling about it?
Mm, mm. I guess this answer for me is pretty much the same as the new conflict answer.
Hmm.
It's like I just try to find some parallel, even if it's
Yeah.
super loosely related. Like everything builds on something else, and
Yeah, there must have been a precedent, right?
yeah. I mean, really at the basic, like at the basic, most basic level, even if I knew nothing, no other fact about the world,
Hmm.
then like, yeah, even if I knew no other fact about the world and someone was trying to teach me something, like they would have to find a way to explain it to me like through language, and that itself is like I would have had to apply that to this is very wordy. This is like verbal gymnastics right now. That I feel like that itself is like something like some inkling that I had to like start, it's like nothing's like a blank slate. Yeah.
100%. 100%. I mean, hey, you're into writing. It's called semantics and being
Yeah.
articulate. Uh,
That was the most unarticulated sentence too that I
yo,
just
what?
that was all over the place.
What is a question you wish people would ask themselves more often?
Hmm. Um, probably, mm, probably what am I? What am I? I was gonna say who am I, but I think what am I is a little more general. You can like go more places with that.
Yeah, I like what questions. What questions and how questions. How do you see whatever work you're doing in the future impacting society?
Well, honestly, I don't know, and I've thought a lot about this.
Mm,
Like as I get older, okay, I'm just like, right, I'm talking about how I'm excited about honesty and I'm passionate about honesty right now,
yeah.
right? And transparency. I think that earlier in my life, like so many people when they're younger, you're a lot, you're a lot more idealistic or um, you want to go like I wanted when I first started getting interested in law, I was like, I want to help other people.
Yeah.
Like I want to go into like environmental law or something like that. Um, and as I get older, I realize that like I like money. Like I like
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and when I'm thinking about my career, the honestly, like I'm not thinking about what career I can go down that is going to best help other people. In all honesty, that's not what I'm thinking about. Um, at the same time, though, I think that wherever you end up, you have the potential to help other people around you. Um, and um, I think money has its upsides and downsides.
Yeah.
Like, I think, um, I don't know. I think it's both true that people being rich has helped society because I think like innovation happens that way. Um, and I also think it's true that there are people who are too rich and that's negative for society. I think both are true. Um, yeah, that was a long way to answer your question, but I
Yeah.
don't know how I see myself helping people the best. I definitely don't want to be, oh, and I want to qualify when I say I love money. I don't want to, go into law or real estate or business
Yeah.
and just like, you know, be like a slumlord and,
For
not
sure.
give people heating and blah, blah, blah. Like, I
Yeah.
still want to be moral
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
as moral as I can be about what I'm doing. Um, Yeah, and I think like a person who has inspired me a lot is my dad, and he's not particularly
Mm,
like he's not a philosophical guy at all. He doesn't read. He's not. He's a very simple guy,
yeah.
but he has a really, really great work ethic.
Yeah.
Like he was never gonna go down. He wanted to go to the NFL. He got injured in high school. He had a scholarship for UCLA and like was going to UCLA to play football. Um, and um he ended up getting into like food business and like running a food business and was really successful with it. But he always would when I was a kid, we would always like we went to Super Bowl one time and like he had like 10 I mean, he started this food business out of our garage when I was a kid.
Wow.
And he would buy like 10 tickets or 5 tickets for like whoever like his employees that he wanted to come,
Wow.
like a raffle, like whoever won a raffle or like when COVID hit, I remember he was like sitting on our couch like having a breakdown and
Mm,
he paid the health insurance for like 7 months past what was required for the like everyone that had been laid off because like food business is
yeah.
such a tangible thing. You can't do like you're screwed if you
Yeah.
go online like and it's mostly office spaces that he was furnishing with food or
Yeah.
in food like coffee and food for break rooms.
Yeah.
So that's like a useless business when you're online and
Wow.
you had to lay off all these people and I don't know, honestly like there have been times in my life where I question like
Mm,
whether my dad is a good person or not.
yeah.
But that is, it's like moments like those that I know, like he actually does care,
Oh yeah.
other people. He really does care about other people. That was a really long way of
No,
answering.
no, 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 no.
Yeah.
That's 100. Thanks for sharing, man. That's
Yeah.
um other than graduating in law school, what's a personal dream or goal you're working towards right now?
Mm. Um, I really want like a home that is like really like a good like a home, like a good home, not a house, like a home.
Mm.
Um, I really wanted to have like an ocean view as well. But I don't want it to be like some like depressing modern concrete block. Like, I really want like something that's like personal
Yeah.
and I also want it to be I want people that I can call home to.
Oof. Yeah.
I want a lot of people in my life. Like when um I want to be like the grandparent one day that gets to like on Christmas sit in a room full of people and not like one person. I think that's really
Mm.
important to me. Um, and that's something that I appreciate more like having an American dad and a Lebanese mom.
Yeah.
My mom's family is scattered all over. No one is like my grandparents are they're in Southern California,
Okay.
but um everyone else is everywhere. And for them it's like a brand new thing because
Mm.
they're not even from like Beirut. I mean, everyone goes to Beirut for business and work,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
They're from some tiny ass village in the mountains, and like they're the first generation. My grandparents and my mom were the first generation that left, you know?
Okay.
Um, and so, you know, for them, it's like you always had a bunch of family all consolidated in one place, and now there's this diaspora.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that that makes me appreciate
Mm.
having everyone in one place and or
Oh,
not even in one place, just nearby, you know?
no,
Yeah,
home. You said it,
yeah,
home. Home is the
yeah,
word. All
yeah.
right, so we're closing on the last four questions. The next three are going to be up there, just
Okay.
FYI. All right, so uh, in your own words, what is depression?
What is depression? Hmm. This is a really good question. Feel like mm, I feel like depression might be, and honestly, I don't know if this is correct really, but think, when you're sad, like everyone gets sad, but when you're depressed, like I think that you're stuck in a space where you either A, don't want to help yourself get out, or B, you don't know how, or C, both.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
What is love? It could be platonic, romantic, doesn't matter. But
Yeah, I never, when
yeah,
you said that, like
yeah.
I romanticism was not the first like thing that came to mind. I hate, capital R romantics. I think it's so like chuggy and like ingenuine.
Mm.
Although like ignorance is bliss, and if that's like your thing and that's like your whole world, go for it, be happy. But um yeah.
See, this is what I mean with you're open-minded.
Yeah.
You give people their due.
Yeah, if you want your Hallmark ending, then you go for it. But no, I think that love is I don't I think that love is like I honestly I can't describe it in words. I think it's just like this feeling that um like you feel like when um like in a Febreze commercial when they're like like they smell something really good, like I think that's what it feels like to me. Maybe I'm thinking of like appreciation, maybe I'm thinking like love and appreciation are kind of similar in my mind. I don't know, I think it's just like something you feel all around. Like sometimes I don't even know what I'm loving, but like it's a good day and I just like love right now, for whatever reason. You can maybe it's like an energy, a vibe, like yeah,
100, 100. I mean, it's yeah. Um, Obviously words as writers, you know,
yeah,
uh, we could say words don't do love justice, right? But
yeah,
like when you click, you click. Like I said, um, I don't know if it was when I first met y'all in class that first year, but it was a test. There were tests in the beginning, but seeing each other afterwards it was just love. Like there's no
yeah,
work. There's no work.
yeah,
There's no games. It's just like
yeah.
and just
And
being
it's hard to describe that. It's like because it's concrete up here and like in here,
And yeah, you feel it. Yeah.
but but language isn't perfect. You can't do it justice, you know? Yeah.
All right. What is the meaning of life?
Okay. I have no idea. I have no idea. Um, yeah, I have asked myself this question a lot, especially the past month.
Mm,
Um, and I don't know. I
mm,
think that, and I think like, I think that assumes that there is a meaning.
mm,
I think, well, I think we have a creator of some type. Um, and so I think that necessitates some type of meaning to
mm,
human life. Um, but I think it's possible like that the meaning is like really could be really dismal and like just pointless. Like we could be someone's petri dish, you know. Seriously, like
yeah.
um uh or the opposite, like or maybe the Bible is right and like we're all fearfully and wonderfully made um and there's like a creator that really cares about us. Um I've never been able to answer that question because I don't know, what is even if you believe in a creator,
Mm.
what's the point in creating people like to watch them? Like, does God need entertainment? I don't know. Is it for God? I don't know. I don't really know.
Mm,
Uh, but I think my attitude towards the question
mm.
is actually this kind of ties back to the first this do you know the plot of Gilgamesh, like the Epic of
It was a
Gilgamesh?
long time ago. That was my undergrad
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
It's
So
hmm
I read it for the first time
okay. Tell me about it.
and I read it this month again.
Mm,
Um, and there's this king and he's like really unjust and he's, raping women and taking this and that and like blah, blah, blah. He's brutal, whatever. And the elders cry out to the gods for someone to be a match to him to like over
hmm
whatever. And this guy comes down, the gods send this beast and he ends up getting tamed. Um, Yada yada. They fight and they become friends actually.
best friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, right. But when they go to Lebanon. They go to the cedar forest to kill the demon. He's Humbaba.
Yeah.
And they kill him, and the beast that the gods sent down, who like turns into a man, um, he dies, and the king is
Mm,
like, in all this dread, and he goes to the underworld, and he's like mourning his friend, but it turns into an existential crisis. He's like, I'm gonna die. Everything's gonna die. Like the kingdom is gonna die, blah, blah. And he goes and he gets this vine that's supposed to make him live forever, and he's gonna eat it, but he decides to like set it down for a second, and a snake comes up and grabs it and slithers away. And so now he's like even more depressed and he just whatever. And he never comes to a full resolution other than the fact that he just goes back to
mm,
the opening of the epic just describes the kingdom. It just says it says 3.5 miles of brick long is the
Mm,
kingdom of Uruk or whatever.
yeah.
Half a mile wide is the temple, blah, 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 blah. Just like very like short, concise sentences. And the end of the book just goes back to he returns and he just describes in the same words the kingdom. And I don't think he has a full resolution, but he kind of just has to go back to like the present and um and he's changed. Nothing about the place where he's going back has changed. He's changed himself. Like he's gone on a journey and um but he still doesn't know all the answers and
Mm,
I don't know. I just think it's somewhat comforting to me
mm,
that the oldest epic in the oldest piece of literature known in the world is is contemplating that question and it doesn't have a resolution. It just kind of has some like you just have to try to be content with like
mm,
what is there right now.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and yeah, for an old uh such an old story, which how can we for our literary taste and standards, um, how can we imagine such characterization? Because he goes through such a big change.
Yeah.
And then the like you said, the beautiful part is like he doesn't get the answer, especially when he runs into uh their equivalent of Noah, Upna
Oh yeah.
na pit
Nishepi or
yeah,
Nishep.
and
Yeah.
but that's his life, you know, Umna Pishtin or something like that. Like, but that's his life. And he can't tell him the other answer. And he can't Gilgamesh can't live his life.
Yeah. Right. And he has like he got eternal life
Yep.
and yeah, that was one of the interesting things I also learned in
Yeah.
college. It's like the flood story is just regurgitated over and over again, you
It's a
know.
trip.
It is. Yeah. Um
And by the way, isn't the Lebanese flag behind you and isn't that a Lebanese
oh,
senior?
a little tiny
Yeah.
right there. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was also cool that like, Lebanon is in the first book or the first piece of literature ever like
Yeah.
discovered. Yeah.
Um, yeah, the cradle of civilization is all in that area, man.
Yeah.
And there's so many unknowns. I don't know if you remember, I told you like one of my biggest things was my dream is to go to Lebanon to see that the giant megaliths that are unfinished, and we still don't know,
Yeah.
right? How they carved them. But, not to mansplain or black mansplain about the meaning of life, but I love your response about that dream or goal of just home and being that grandparent. Um, and how that comes to fruition. Don't know how, but it will.
Mhm.
And I pray everyone else gets to find home. And I think that was the other thing where I think y'all know uh, when I came to that classroom, I'm orphaned. And I think that's where you and a couple other students were just like, you know, y'all just bless me and you welcome me. So I'm grateful that you added that much meaning to my life at such a pivotal point. And last but not least, what advice would you give to young people, especially in high school, especially seniors?
Um, uh, well, first enjoy the second semester of senior year because that's like a really good. I'm not saying it goes downhill from that by any means, but like that's a great time. Like it's things are still pretty simple. You're not adjusting to anything new. You know, you have your app submitted, you have your work done. Like I think it's good to check out in some way second semester. Honestly, most of your teachers will be checked out. So, senior teachers second semester are like, oh, it's second semester, like let's just cancel this test. Like, you know, um, yeah. And then I guess like I'm trying to think of a more useful piece of advice. Um, I would say, mm, I would say take things one step at a time
Mm.
um and keep an open mind probably. Yeah. I mean, you really never know what's next, and yeah.
So
And college, and take advantage of college.
yeah.
Like that's the oh, I heard a professor say something like that was good the other day. It was like, for a lot of you, this is going to be the last time in your life where someone actually cares about what you're putting out. Like if you're sitting at a desk job, like who cares about the output? They're just going to give you input, right? Like, and I'm not saying that's true for everyone. Like, I'm sure some people like will, and definitely people from Valley, kids from Valley are going to be
Mm.
doing great things where people care about, what they say and what they think. But for most people, like it's true, that's the last chance for them to really like have like some type of fulfillment,
Mm.
institutional fulfillment of an institution, not just like your friends or whatever,
Mm.
but like really put something out that people care about. You're asking to be your performance is being like asked for,
Mm.
not for not as like a money machine, not as like, you know, like a little worker, like, but for yourself. So take everything you can get out of it, especially if your parents are paying a lot of money for it. Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot who said it. But I believe this academic, I believe it was academic, and he was saying about college, um, especially United States with our liberal arts education, it's the finest in the world. You go to other countries, it's so one-dimensional, not in a bad way, but like you don't get general ed. You're just studying one singular topic. You don't have the breadth. And so, and basically, when you go to university, imagine you're going to um, the finest restaurant you can go to, right? And you have this menu, and everything's all inclusive. You paid for it ahead of time. And imagine that, and I hate hypothetical situations, but he said it best. Imagine that you're looking through the menu and you keep looking through it, you don't take advantage, and you don't even choose anything. And by the time, you know, actually the restaurant closes and you don't get anything out of it, and you've already paid for it.
Yeah.
So take advantage. Take advantage. High school, university is the best time of your life.
Yeah.
And I envy you and I hate you so much because you get access to, dude, an 11-person class and you get to touch $1 million books. Like you get to touch history.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you, Huston.
Thank-
That's just so fire, man.
I mean, it was, but I can't like take the credit for that. I think I had a lot of, well, I think first my parents
Mm.
just like finances aside, I mean, their
Yeah.
finance college for me. That's like a huge thing. And um USC is very like there are not a lot of middle class kids here. You either have no money and you qualify for a full ride, you have like a
Mm.
need-based aid, or you have a lot of money and there's not a lot of in
Yeah.
between. And that there's like a divide. Not, I wouldn't say like, it's like a social thing, like, oh, I'm not
Yeah.
you know, but there's like notice like even at a school that people think is like so pretentious and like money and like LA, la la, whatever. Um, like that's not the case for, a good proportion of students. Like
Yeah.
the majority are on significant financial aid
Yeah.
here. Um, and so yeah, I owe it to my parents to, pay for all of this, and I also owe it to my parents for
Mm.
like when I was a kid, just going out of the way like all the time. Like, I remember sitting at the piano when I was a kid with my mom and her
Mm,
teaching me every line, or even like when I was a kid in between school years, like in the summer, she would do like homeschooling with my sister and I, and, like give us
wow.
some math and stuff like that so we wouldn't fall behind. Um, yeah, and then all my high school teachers too, like especially teachers like you, Mr. Reese,
Mm,
like, I learned so much at Valley. Like I never appreciated Valley until I got here and I realized like even in the honors program I was talking about earlier,
mm-hmm.
we do a lot of peer editing in the first two courses for like writing workshops.
Yeah.
And I'm like I'm not even talking about like a difference of style. I'm like you literally do like there were more way more times than I expected that I would like circle something or highlight something and say this is not a sentence because it didn't have a subject or something like that. Like and I talked to my other friends from Valley and they're like, yeah, other kids cannot write. Like our English department is
Mm.
really good at Valley. And I'm not saying that to like kiss your ass right now.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
mean
Yeah.
it. Like
Yeah.
I think that I thought I was surprised when I got into USC.
Mm,
Like I was always a good student. I had a good GPA, but it's hard, especially at Valley. Like a lot of kids applied here, and the other kids that got in here were like doing way more than I was. Like,
mm,
you know, like they were on top of their stuff. But when I got here, so I'm expecting like to be the bottom of my class, and then when I got here, I was like, no, like Valley prepared me actually really well for this, and I felt really lucky to have that too, because that is not something that very many people get, that quality of education. Yeah. Anyways.
no, no. Anyways,
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you so much for that shout out, Hudson.
yeah,
That's that means a lot, man. That
yeah.
means a lot. All right. With that being said, Hudson, thank you so much. Definitely will touch base and look forward to having you on again because I think there's other things we have to talk about.
Okay, I'm in. I'm in.
All right. Hudson, bye.
Bye.